Most people walk through life blind, not because they lack eyes, but because they refuse to see. They are ruled by impulse, manipulated by emotion, and deceived by appearances. Their minds are dull, not by fate, but by choice. Machiavelli once said, "A man who cannot think beyond what he is told will forever serve those who can." If you wish to sharpen your mind, to see the world as it truly is, not as it pretends to be, then you must be willing to unlearn comfort, question everything, and think with strategy, not sympathy. This is not a video for the weak. This is for most people live trapped within illusions, illusions created by society, by authority, and by their own desire for comfort. Machiavelli understood that perception is power. He wrote that men are more influenced by what appears to be true than by what is true. To make your mind sharper, you must first learn to see beyond appearances. The dull mind accepts what it is shown. The sharp mind asks why it is being shown. Those who control perception control thought, and those who control thought control action. The ability to see through illusion is what separates the ruler from the ruled, the manipulator from the manipulated. In every era, people crave simplicity. They want the world to fit neatly into good and evil, friend and enemy, truth and lie. But Machiavelli warns that such thinking makes you predictable. The world is not divided by clear lines. It is shaped by hidden motives and quiet strategies. To sharpen your mind, you must train it to recognize the gray areas where real power hides. When you hear someone speak with confidence, do not be impressed. Ask what they gain from convincing you. When you see outrage in the masses, do not join them. Ask who benefits from their anger. A sharp mind never reacts immediately. It observes first and acts when the pattern becomes clear. Perception is a weapon. It can destroy reputations, create loyalty, and shape nations without a single sword being drawn. Machiavelli observed that princes ruled not through constant violence, but through the careful crafting of image. The people must see strength, even when the ruler feels weakness. They must see justice, even when the ruler acts from necessity. The modern world is no different, only the tools have changed. Today, perception is controlled through screens, through narratives, through the endless noise of opinion. The one who can see the machinery behind these illusions becomes immune to manipulation. To cultivate this level of awareness, you must practice mental distance. Do not rush to judge what you see or hear. Step back and observe. Every story has two faces, the one presented and the one concealed. Every compliment carries a motive, every criticism reveals a fear. When you begin to notice these hidden intentions, your mind starts to cut through deception like a blade through silk. You stop being a passive consumer of information and become an active strategist of thought. Machiavelli would remind you that truth is not always useful, but perception always is. This does not mean abandoning honesty. It means understanding that what people believe matters more than what is. A man who knows the truth but cannot shape perception is powerless. A man who understands perception can turn even lies into tools. To sharpen your mind, learn how people form their beliefs, through repetition, emotion, and social approval. Once you understand this, you will know how easily the crowd can be swayed, and how rarely they think for themselves. When your mind becomes trained to see beneath the surface, you will start noticing how often people hide weakness under confidence, ignorance under certainty, and fear under morality. You will see how institutions, leaders, and influencers craft images that appeal to emotion, not logic. You will see how easily the public can be guided, and how quietly power moves while everyone else is distracted by noise. Machiavelli's wisdom lies not in cruelty, but in clarity. He teaches that the sharp mind sees the invisible threads that guide human behavior. When you can recognize these threads, you are no longer a puppet. You are the one holding the strings. Emotions are the greatest enemy of clear thought. Machiavelli understood that a man who cannot master his emotions will always be mastered by those who can. The difference between an ordinary mind and a sharp one lies not in intelligence, but in control. Most people allow anger, fear, pride, or pity to dictate their choices. They react instead of thinking. They are pulled by every feeling, like a ship without a captain tossed by the storm. The sharper mind, however, is not without emotion. It simply does not serve it. It observes emotion as one observes the weather, useful to understand, dangerous to obey. Machiavelli believed that those who rule must be calm when others panic, decisive when others hesitate, and rational when others rage. Emotion blinds judgment. A man in anger cannot see beyond his wound, and a man in fear cannot see beyond his escape. Both become predictable, and predictability is weakness. The wise do not suppress emotion, they delay its influence. They feel anger but act only when it serves their purpose. They feel fear but move as though they do not. In this way, emotion becomes a weapon rather than a weakness. The world constantly provokes emotion because emotional people are easy to lead. Entire systems of power rely on outrage, distraction, and pleasure to keep minds dull and reactive. The crowd is kept busy feeling rather than thinking. Machiavelli would say, "To free yourself from this trap, you must develop cold clarity. When insulted, remain still. When praised, remain skeptical." The goal is not to be heartless, but to become unmoved by manipulation. A ruler who acts from emotion destroys his own stability. A person who acts from reason shapes his world as he chooses. Detachment is misunderstood. It is not indifference, it is power. When you detach, you do not stop caring. You stop being controlled. You begin to see the pattern behind the provocation. You start noticing how people reveal their intentions when they are emotional. In anger, they expose their fears. In excitement, they expose their greed. In sadness, they reveal what they cannot let go of. A sharp mind uses this information quietly. It listens when others shout, and it plans while others react. Machiavelli often wrote that appearances matter more than reality, and this applies to emotion as well. You must appear calm even when chaos surrounds you. The image of control can defeat opponents before action begins. Those who see you unshaken start to believe you are untouchable, and belief is the root of influence. Every emotion you show publicly gives others power over you. Every emotion you conceal keeps that power within. A disciplined mind can act kindly while feeling anger, or appear fearful while preparing an attack. This is not deception, it is strategy. To sharpen your mind, practice small acts of emotional restraint. When something provokes you, pause before responding. Observe the feeling, study it, and ask, "What outcome would best serve my purpose?" This pause is the birthplace of wisdom. Each time you resist an impulse, your control strengthens. Soon, you will find yourself surrounded by chaos, yet untouched by it. You will see how easily others reveal their plans through emotion, while yours remain hidden behind silence. The greatest thinkers and rulers understood this truth. Mastery of self precedes mastery of others. You cannot influence the world if you cannot influence your own reactions. The moment you let rage decide your actions, someone else has already won. But when your emotions obey your reason, you become formidable. Machiavelli's wisdom is not about cruelty, it is about precision. He reminds us that clarity is born from composure, and composure is born from discipline. The mind that rules emotion becomes the mind that rules circumstance. Machiavelli believed that understanding human nature was far more valuable than chasing ideal visions of how people should be. He saw that men are not guided by virtue or morality, but by self-interest, fear, and desire. The one who understands this truth can predict behavior long before it occurs. To sharpen your mind, you must study how people truly act, not how they claim to act. The world praises honesty, yet rewards cunning. It glorifies kindness, yet follows strength. What people say and what they do are often opposites. The sharp mind observes this contradiction without judgment, using it as a map of human motives. Most individuals want to be seen as good rather than to actually be good. They perform virtue when it benefits them and abandon it when it costs them. This is not evil, it is simply nature. Machiavelli warned rulers that trusting in the goodness of others was fatal. He wrote that a prince who relies on promises will be destroyed, because men will break them whenever it suits their advantage. The same principle applies to everyone who seeks clarity and power. Expect people to act according to what they want, not what they claim to value. The wise do not hate this truth, they use it. When you begin to study human nature, you stop taking betrayal, flattery, or deceit personally. You start seeing patterns instead of pain. You notice that fear drives loyalty more than love, that gain motivates more than morality, and that the desire for approval often outweighs truth. Every person you meet carries these instincts in different proportions. The sharp mind watches quietly, learning what each person craves most: security, recognition, control, or affection, and sees how easily those desires can be guided. This is not manipulation for cruelty, it is awareness for survival. To see others clearly is to protect yourself from being blinded by expectation. Machiavelli believed that ideals weaken leaders because they create blindness. When you expect people to be noble, you fail to notice their self-interest. When you expect people to be wicked, you miss opportunities for alliance. The wise mind avoids both extremes. It accepts that people are capable of both virtue and vice, switching between them according to need. A person who truly understands this can move through the world without surprise. They are neither disappointed by deceit nor intoxicated by loyalty. They treat character as a variable, not a certainty. Observation is the art that reveals truth. To study human nature, watch what people do when no one is watching. See how they treat those who can give them nothing. Listen to how they speak of others when they are absent. These are the mirrors of the soul. Words are tools of disguise, but behavior exposes truth. When your mind becomes trained to notice these details, you begin to predict outcomes instinctively. You see the deal that will fail before it begins, the ally who will turn when power shifts, the friend whose loyalty depends on benefit. The key is not cynicism, but clarity. Machiavelli did not despise humanity. He understood it. He saw that power, love, and morality all exist within the same person, shifting like tides. To think clearly, you must remove moral fog and see human actions as strategies of survival. Once you understand that every move people make is either to gain or to protect something, confusion disappears. You stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start asking, "What did they gain by doing this?" That shift in thinking turns emotion into insight. A sharp mind uses this understanding to navigate life with precision. It trusts no one completely yet betrays no one unnecessarily. It rewards loyalty but prepares for its loss. It listens to words but believes actions. It understands that morality and ambition coexist uneasily in all men, including oneself. Machiavelli's wisdom is a call to awaken from naivety and to see the human world as it is, driven not by ideals, but by motives. When you learn to read those motives, deception loses its power, and your mind becomes sharper than the world that seeks to deceive you. Observation is the silent weapon of the powerful mind. Machiavelli understood that knowledge gathered quietly is more dangerous than force displayed loudly. The ordinary person listens to respond. The sharp mind listens to understand. Every movement, every glance, every word a person speaks contains hidden information. The world constantly reveals itself to those who are patient enough to observe it. Power belongs not to the loudest, but to the most perceptive. The one who can read beneath the surface of words and gestures holds an advantage no title or strength can equal. Most people are blinded by their need to speak, to prove, to react. They rush to be seen, not realizing that the more they expose, the easier they are to read. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear simple while thinking deeply, to speak little while learning much. A ruler who knows what others hide has control over them, even if they appear to hold power. The sharp mind practices stillness. It watches the tone of a person's voice, the timing of their pauses, the way their confidence flickers when questioned. Observation is not about staring, it is about noticing the patterns others miss. In every interaction, people reveal their motives. Some use charm to hide insecurity, others use aggression to mask fear. By observing reactions, you begin to see what drives them. A person who interrupts often fears losing control. One who flatters excessively seeks favor. One who stays silent may be weighing opportunity. These are clues in the grand game of human nature. Machiavelli believed that understanding these small signs allowed rulers to anticipate betrayal, resistance, or loyalty long before it surfaced. A sharp mind reads human behavior as a strategist reads the battlefield. Observation also extends to the world beyond individuals. Every system, every institution, every group operates by patterns. The wise mind studies these patterns without emotion. When something changes, it asks why. When something repeats, it asks who benefits. In this way, observation becomes the foundation of foresight. While others are surprised by events, the observer sees them forming from miles away. What appears as intuition is often just awareness sharpened through habit. Machiavelli's insight was that the most successful leaders were those who saw more than others because they paid attention when others were distracted. To sharpen your mind through observation, you must learn the art of silence. The more you speak, the less you see. When you speak less, others fill the silence by revealing themselves. People rush to expose their thoughts when they feel unobserved. They reveal their ambitions in small complaints, their insecurities in small jokes, their fears in moments of pride. The sharp observer gathers these fragments patiently, storing them like weapons for future use. Knowledge gives control, and control gives freedom. Observation also requires detachment. You cannot see clearly if you are eager to judge. Judgment clouds perception. Machiavelli advised that a wise ruler should neither love nor hate too quickly, for emotion blinds strategy. To observe effectively, you must watch without reacting. See behavior as data, not drama. The moment you become offended or flattered, you lose your edge. The sharp mind studies people the way a scientist studies nature, with curiosity, not attachment. In a world flooded with noise, most people overlook the power of silence. Observation is the discipline of the few. It takes patience to remain quiet when others demand reaction, and humility to learn from what others ignore. But the rewards are immense. You begin to move through life seeing connections others miss. You notice opportunities before they appear obvious. You sense danger before it is declared. Machiavelli's wisdom lies in the understanding that knowledge is the purest form of power, and the eyes that see most clearly are often the ones that speak least. To observe deeply is to command quietly. When you master observation, you no longer need to chase power. Power begins to gravitate toward you. Discomfort is the forge of a sharp mind. Machiavelli understood that comfort weakens judgment, dulls awareness, and breeds complacency. The human instinct is to seek ease, to avoid pain, and to cling to what feels safe. Yet every great thinker, ruler, and strategist he admired was shaped by struggle, not peace. A comfortable life creates soft minds. A life of challenge, of uncertainty, of constant testing, creates a mind that is alert, disciplined, and adaptable. The sharper your mind becomes, the less you fear discomfort, because you begin to see it as the path to power rather than the enemy of peace. Most people run from pain the moment they feel it. They distract themselves, hide from failure, and surround themselves with false positivity. They never realize that every difficulty they escape from becomes a missed opportunity for growth. Machiavelli would say that fortune favors those who can endure the storm. He saw hardship not as punishment but as preparation. A ruler who has known struggle understands both weakness and resilience. A man who has only known comfort mistakes convenience for control. When the world changes suddenly, the soft-minded collapse, while those forged in adversity adapt and survive. The mind becomes sharp through friction, just as a blade becomes sharp through grinding. Discomfort forces you to think differently, to innovate, to confront your fears, and to develop self-control. It strips away illusion. When life challenges you, it reveals the truth about what you can and cannot control. This awareness strengthens perception and decision-making. Machiavelli believed that a man who has learned through hardship becomes immune to fear, because he has already seen what others are terrified of facing. He no longer depends on hope or luck. He depends on skill, patience, and strategy. The pursuit of comfort creates blindness. It lulls the mind into a false sense of security. People who have everything they want stop observing, stop questioning, and stop improving. They become predictable, and predictability is the opposite of power. The sharp mind deliberately seeks challenges, not to suffer, but to stay awake. It takes on difficulty as training. It accepts discomfort as an instructor that no book or mentor can replace. Every failure becomes a lesson, every obstacle a test of adaptability. Machiavelli saw that the world belongs not to the strongest or the kindest, but to those who learn fastest, and learning is born from friction. To sharpen your mind, you must replace avoidance with curiosity. When something makes you uncomfortable, ask why. When fear rises, do not run. Study it. What you fear often hides what you need to master. Discomfort is information. It reveals your weaknesses and exposes the boundaries of your current mindset. A wise mind uses this information to grow. Machiavelli's idea of intelligence was not about memorizing knowledge. It was about knowing how to act effectively in uncertainty. Only those who endure discomfort learn this kind of intelligence. In daily life, this philosophy means embracing what others avoid. Speak when silence feels safer. Stay disciplined when laziness tempts you. Face rejection without losing purpose. Choose to do the hard thing when the easy one calls. Each act of resistance strengthens your mental armor. Over time, you begin to crave challenge, because you recognize that struggle gives meaning and clarity. Machiavelli would say that discomfort is the price of greatness, and those who cannot pay it are doomed to serve those who can. When you stop fleeing from difficulty, the world opens itself to you. The sharp mind sees adversity not as chaos, but as a classroom. Every problem becomes a puzzle. Every setback becomes a lesson. You cease to fear what others dread, because you understand that discomfort is not destruction. It is transformation. Machiavelli's wisdom teaches that the mind grows sharper each time it resists weakness. To think with strength, you must live with courage. Discomfort is the test that separates those who merely survive from those who truly rule. To appear simple while thinking complex is one of Machiavelli's most powerful teachings. He understood that true intelligence does not announce itself. The sharpest minds hide their depth behind calm expressions, ordinary words, and predictable behavior. The more people believe they understand you, the easier it becomes to move without resistance. A simple appearance disarms suspicion. When others underestimate you, they reveal more, relax their guard, and expose their intentions. Machiavelli believed that the clever must often disguise their cleverness, because open brilliance provokes fear and envy. The one who appears harmless can study, plan, and act freely, while others waste their energy trying to impress. The world fears complexity. Most people prefer to deal with what they think they can read easily. When you appear too intelligent or too ambitious, they feel threatened. They will try to contain you, compete with you, or silence you. But if you present yourself as ordinary, agreeable, or even slightly naive, you are left alone to work in silence. Machiavelli observed that great rulers and thinkers used this strategy often. They appeared mild while making ruthless calculations underneath. They spoke humbly, but every word was chosen with purpose. This is not hypocrisy, it is protection. Simplicity on the surface keeps power safe beneath it. A sharp mind never wastes energy trying to prove its sharpness. It understands that understanding itself is a weapon, and weapons should not be waved around unnecessarily. The wise use knowledge like a hidden blade, revealed only when it will strike effectively. When you seem too eager to show your intelligence, you become predictable, and predictability can be exploited. But when you seem simple, people drop their guard. They expose plans, secrets, and weaknesses, thinking you will not notice. You notice everything. Machiavelli's lesson is that the most dangerous person in any room is the one everyone underestimates. Appearing simple also gives freedom. When you are not performing intelligence, you are free to observe. You listen more deeply, absorb more information, and think several moves ahead while others talk themselves into mistakes. The crowd seeks attention. The wise seek understanding. When you hide your depth, you stop feeding the egos of others and start using them as mirrors. Their reactions tell you who they are, what they want, and how they can be influenced. Power grows in silence. However, hiding complexity does not mean pretending to be foolish. It means controlling what you reveal. Speak clearly, act calmly, and let your thoughts run deeper than your words. A mind that appears simple on the outside but moves with complexity within can navigate any situation. If you seem too clever, you provoke opposition. The sharp mind moves between these extremes with precision. It adapts its image to the situation. Around the proud, it appears humble. Around the strong, it appears compliant. Around the cunning, it appears transparent. Each mask serves a purpose, but behind them all lies the same calculating awareness. This ability to control perception is what Machiavelli saw as true wisdom, the fusion of intelligence and subtlety. Those who truly understand this principle no longer need validation. They do not seek to be admired because admiration invites envy. They do not seek to be understood because mystery creates advantage. Their power lies in the fact that others cannot predict them. To appear simple is to remain invisible to threat. To think complex is to be prepared for every move. Machiavelli's wisdom reminds us that the sharpest blade is not the one that glitters. It is the one concealed until the moment it must strike. Here's a Machiavellian-style conclusion for your speech titled, "This video will make your mind 10x sharper." Machiavelli. It matches the tone of your earlier keynotes. Calm, dark, and powerfully reflective. Most minds are dulled not by ignorance but by comfort. They see, yet do not observe. They hear, yet do not listen. They think, yet do not question. But you, if you choose to sharpen your mind, must live differently. Train yourself to see through illusion, to master emotion, to understand human nature as it truly is, not as it pretends to be. Observe everything, learn from discomfort, and never reveal the full depth of your thoughts. A sharp mind is not loud. It is silent, strategic, and dangerous. The world rewards those who appear harmless but think deeply, those who act calmly while others panic, those who see the game for what it is. If you can learn to think as Machiavelli thought, to detach from illusion and see reality with precision, you will hold a weapon far greater than wealth or status. In a world built to deceive, clarity is rebellion. Protect your mind, sharpen it daily, and remember, those who control perception control power. Be the one who sees what others cannot. Be the mind that cannot be manipulated. That is how you become dangerous. Would you like me to craft a final closing line after that? Something short and cinematic for your YouTube outro, like "Stay sharp and stay unseen."